Madam Deputy Speaker, I stand today in the Mother of Parliament, but it is a sad indictment of our democracy that most people in our country are dissatisfied by the mainstream parties and their policies, politics and behaviours. Many feel trampled on, ignored, powerless and disenfranchised. And I'm repeatedly told that politicians are all the same and just in it for themselves. People have lost hope and trust in politics and politicians, and it is our duty in this House to restore their faith by putting the interests of the people who elected us above ourselves, our careers, party donors, corporations and malign influences. After 15 weeks as an MP, it is unclear to me how the whip system is democratic and in what way expensive gifts can help MPs better represent their constituents. I hope to support the Modernisation and Standards Committee and work in this place in a way to help restore the trust of the people we represent. Madam Deputy Speaker, some have sought to present my election and those of other independents as sinister or a threat to democracy. In fact, I was selected from 12 applicants to stand as the sole independent candidate in an open, rigorous and democratic process. My election had nothing to do with sectarian politics or caricatures about Muslim voters being manipulated by their spiritual leaders. It did have everything to do with the state of our country and the raw anger over Tory complicity and Labour's refusal to call out the unfolding genocide in Palestine. The attacks on October the 7th were appalling, and I reiterate the calls for an immediate ceasefire, the release of all hostages on both sides, and the unfettered access to humanitarian aid. When the Prime Minister endorsed the rights of the Israeli government to cut off water and electricity to the people of Gaza, people in Dewsbury and Backley said no, not in our name. What has happened in Gaza since is beyond words. Earlier this month, the UN reported that Israel has committed war crimes and the crime against humanity of extermination in Gaza, adding to the ICJ conclusion in January that Israel's actions may plausibly amount to genocide. Madam Deputy Speaker, most British people want an immediate ceasefire, an end to the UK's complicity. They are sick and tired of the double standard, with politicians lining up to condemn and sanction Russian aggression in Ukraine, yet defend the most heinous crimes of Israel. The compassion for Palestinian lives is not inversely proportional to the compassion for Israeli lives, or vice versa. All lives are equal, and our compassion must also be equal. For the Prime Minister to call for a ceasefire while arming and defending Israel is meaningless and does nothing to bring an end to the killing. And for the Foreign Secretary to yesterday deny a genocide is even taking place because the Israelis have not yet killed enough Palestinians is shameful and is to willfully misrepresent what genocide is. Legal experts are warning that international law and the rules-based order is collapsing along with the rest of Gaza. On Sunday I met Amin, a British Palestinian constituent from Gaza. He told me his 93-year-old father and whole extended family had been displaced and nothing remains of their homes or life in Gaza. So, on behalf of Amin and his family and all the Palestinian people, I implore the UK government to take a moral and legal lead and do everything in its power to uphold the UK's obligation to halt the genocide and to end the 76-year-old long unlawful occupation. As a British Muslim person of colour, I am alarmed when I hear one of the candidates in the Tory leadership contest say that 1 million migrants should be deported and Muslims should be arrested for saying Allahu Akbar, which just means God is the greatest, because I know who the real beneficiaries of those comments will be. We saw where this kind of rhetoric leads. Riots on our street, asylum shelters attacked, religious institutions besieged by mobs, families and communities terrorised. This place must set the example for the people of Britain to follow. We must root out racism and bigotry and reject any narrative that seeks to blame asylum seekers and immigrant communities for the decades of austerity that has eroded the fabric of once secure communities.